and welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning, visiting with Faith Barbado. She is are you executive director, what, at Community Harvest?
By title, I'm the executive director.
Executive director at the Community Harvest, which we're going to be wanting to talk about celebrity cuisine very soon here because it's coming up. But also, let's first find out a little bit about Community Harvest and how you're addressing hunger in our area.
Well, it's so funny that you started with my title because I'm the only paid employee. We are run entirely by volunteers. We were started in 1989 by the Tri-County Restaurant Association. Primarily, members of the community came together and talked about food waste in the restaurants primarily and how we can collect that excess and healthy food and use it to help the poor and underprivileged in our neighborhoods. So we started with about 3 food donors in about 2 sites that we delivered the food to, and that was in 1989. And now we have 32 hot meal programs and shelters that we deliver food to.
That's wonderful.
$1.6 million of food, and about 5,300 volunteer hours each year to make that happen.
When you're talking about food waste, now that's not just the scraps, the bus, whoever's bussing the table gathers up extra. That is actual meals that have not been served, or what are we addressing?
Well, Susie, you're a sweetheart, because I had an interview about 2 years ago, and the person I was interviewing with had the misconception that we were picking up scraps.
Yeah.
It's not quite how our program works. We collect from 100 different restaurants, caterers, grocery stores, cafeterias. Some of our largest food donors, for example, are Mercy Medical and Altman Hospital, Olive Garden, all of the large grocery stores in the area, including Fisher's and Giant Eagle. It's the prepared and perishable food that we pick up. So we get a lot of the prepared food from national franchise restaurants. So have you ever gone to Olive Garden and had them run out of soup? It doesn't happen.
No.
They have to create enough soup to get through the entire day. So that's a great example, and Olive Garden is probably one of our most requested foods, and KFC and Pizza Hut, because it appeals to a large variety of people.
Are there some things like bread, for example, that when you sit down and, I have to laugh at Norm Macdonald. He says, you eat differently when you're at a restaurant than when you're at home. Because never do we at home sit down and say, I'm ready to enjoy a meal, but first I'm going to eat a loaf of bread. And yet we do that at a restaurant. But they have new bread every time, right? So maybe at the end of the day, different things that are made fresh every day, and they wouldn't serve day-old bread, would they, at a restaurant? So are these the kinds of things that you're collecting?
No, that's the perfect example. And I hesitate to give a shout out, but I can just give 2 really good examples. Panera Bread,
yes.
Actually Starbucks, DeBella's, they're known for fresh bread every day. So those are large contributors to our program, and they have so much excess food that we pick up there every day.
You pick up every day. So you actually have volunteers going around or people who work for Community Harvest. How does this gathering, this gleaning go? How does that look?
Our program is actually pretty methodical. I think sometimes people wonder how we can guarantee the same amount of food every day.
Yes.
It's surprisingly very consistent amongst all of our grocery stores and restaurants and caterers. So when we pick up, we have the same volunteers that will do Mondays. The same 2 volunteers do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we have an occasional weekend group that goes out. So they know the food donors, they know the sites that they donate the food to, so they know exactly what they need. It takes the guesswork out of it.
I'm suspecting, knowing how generous this community is, that some restaurant owners are making just a little extra for you. Do you think that you see that happening?
I feel like you are the bug on the wall. That absolutely. It does happen. I think that they know if they make too much, it's going to a good cause. I think the national franchise really can wrap their arms around our program a little bit more than the smaller mom and pop ones in Stark County. But, they are true troopers too, especially all the caterers. If you name it, almost every caterer in Stark County is part of our program, primarily when they make food for restaurants and special events. It's too hard to predict who's not going to show up. Right. So oftentimes they will have anywhere from 2 trays excess to up to 20 trays. And that's our sweet spot. Food that was created for a special event that no one has ever touched. The health department is right next door to you, and we're special friends with them too, because they really keep us aware of the rules and regulations. And that's a question we get all the time. If I donated food, how can you ensure that I won't be liable if someone gets sick or something happens. Well, the Good Samaritan laws were actually passed with the help of Community Harvest in 1989. We worked with Congress to get laws passed to protect food donors and the people that are serving the meals. In the 26 years that Community Harvest has been in existence, we haven't even received anything what you would call remotely close to a lawsuit or liability situation. It's amazing.
It truly is, because you're talking about food that's already been prepared, and then you're taking it to where does it go?
It goes to 32 hot meal programs and shelters. One thing that's a little bit more unique about Community Harvest, in terms of like the Akron Canton Food Bank, they're amazing. They're true partners with us.
Yes.
But I think a sweet spot that we do that people don't realize is that residential facility, like Andre's house, all of the domestic violences, they're not necessarily pantries and they're not hot meal programs. So we're able to provide them with the food that helps them provide unique and special meals for all of the residents. Everyone has different tastes. So by collecting from over 100 different food donors, we can provide a wide variety that people can kind of latch onto and feel comfortable like they're getting something custom made for them.
Yes. And I love that this idea came from the Restaurant Association itself, that they said, hey, we've got extra, let's share.
Yep. In 1989, that's exactly how we started. A couple of our founding folks that I'm aware of, I've only been with Community Harvest for 7 years now, but I do know Mike from AA Executive Catering.
Yes.
Tim Triner, Rick Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
So
Cosmos.
Cosmos. People that have been around for a long time. When you live and breathe every day throwing away food in the dumpster, not that they were doing that. I think they were really creative with ways that they could help folks. But if you think of the national franchises, right, you have to have something in place for the employees not to take advantage of food waste. Oops, I made a mistake. So they can't necessarily give it to employees that work there, because that could cause a whole balloon effect.
Conflict of interest, too.
Right. So I think that they know the value, and they do get a tax deduction, but I can assure you that's not their number one focus when it comes to donating food. It's really to help people in the community that really need it.
So you've been there 7 years, you say?
I've been there 7 years.
And what brought you? What was it about this effort that was so attractive to you?
That's probably my favorite story. I was really involved in the Canton JCs. I was one of the first female presidents. I was involved with Leadership Stark County, but I took a job that kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And before I knew it, I was traveling in Ohio and PA and New York. I was a vice president for a staffing firm. And I was telling my husband, I don't enjoy it anymore. It happened right before the recession. I was letting go of a lot of people. It wasn't fun for me. Yeah. And 3 people told me about Community Harvest. And they were 3 people in my nonprofit world that I respected, and I really valued their opinion. So I thought, I'm just going to take a quantum leap. And I absolutely love my job.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness, yeah. And you're getting to see firsthand the life-changing effects of this kind of an effort, aren't you?
It's awesome. Every day, I can't wait to go to work. I love working with the sites that serve the meals. My volunteers have become my family, and they're absolutely amazing. So shout out to all the volunteers that help Community Harvest.
And do you need more volunteers? Always, probably?
Probably one of the hardest roles that we look for is what I would call the substitute volunteer. I had mentioned earlier that our drivers, they go out in pairs each day, and they go out on the same day. So that gives us an opportunity for them to really understand the food donors and the unique needs of the sites that they serve the food to. On occasion, they're amazing volunteers, and I'll tell you, they usually give me 3 months' notice when they have a vacation planned.
Wow.
They go out sick. To my Tuesday drivers, they are probably my most resilient. They went out last year when the temperatures were like 10 below, wind chill 40 below. Everyone was closed, but my drivers still went out, which is amazing.
Right.
So I do look for subs once in a while to fill in when the volunteers go on vacation. Primarily that happens in December and over the summer months.
Well, they got a nice little thank you for all of that this winter, didn't they? There's been pretty easy so far. The sites that you mentioned, where can you tell us what some of these sites are? You mentioned some of the homes. I believe the Martin Center is one of them. They're good friends of the station. Tell us a little bit about the recipients.
For the most part, anyone that serves a hot meal in Stark County is part of our program. So it ranges from folks that serve almost every day, like Refuge of Hope, to Samaritan's Table, serving up to 700 meals every Thursday. Amazing. A lot of after-school programs. You mentioned the Martin Center and Tikva Hands of Hope.
Yeah.
And we also have some medium-sized programs, St. Joseph's in Maslin, a lot of local churches. Our sweet spot is really with hot meal programs that have a history. They've had an opportunity to understand the needs of their constituents, and they come to us as a supplement to their program. Most of them are also members of the Akron-Canton Food Bank, and we look for that too. It tells us that they're looking for other avenues to receive food at a reduced or free cost, and that's important for us too. We don't want to set anyone up for failure. So if someone comes to our program asking for food, we typically ask that they be in existence for at least 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. So someplace like, as you say, Salvation Army every Monday, the Samaritan's Table every Thursday. There really is something every single day of the week, isn't there? As far as hot meal programs for those in need.
It is. And what I love about Stark County is we're smart. I mean, there are so many nonprofits, but we're getting smarter in how we work together. We understand that collaboration is essential to our existence. Nonprofits are popping up all the time, but the ones that truly have a sustainable program with longevity, they know that partnering with other people is critical.
And you said free or low cost. Is Community Harvest free or low cost?
Thank you for asking. We are the only prepared and perishable food rescue program in Northeast Ohio, and we're the only one in Ohio that delivers food directly to the recipients at no cost. Some other programs are similar, where they might have it delivered, but they have to pay for it, or they don't have to pay for it, but they have to pick it up.
And it is perishable, so it's very important that the people receiving this serve it immediately or soon thereafter, or have a way to store it safely because it's already prepared. So 3 days max between receiving it and serving it?
Well, most of the food is given to us in a frozen state.
Oh.
So that helps with the longevity. But they serve it right away. And Olive Garden was an example I used earlier because I think it really illuminates how our program works the most effectively. It's soups and pasta and sauces that are frozen. You drop it in boiling water. Most of our sites serve the food they receive from us within the 1 to 2 days. A lot of the local grocery stores are so generous and donate frozen meat. And because we have a refrigerated truck and because of rules and regulations by the health department, when we receive it frozen, we deliver it frozen so that they can put it in the state that they receive it. So that gives them some time to use the meats they receive as either soups or meals for the people that visit.
We're speaking with Faith Barbado. She's Executive Director of Community Harvest. And in our next segment, we're going to have to take a break here in a moment, but we're going to want to talk about celebrity cuisine, which is really a unique idea. And one of the most fun things ever that takes place in Stark County, I think, for a very, very reasonable price. Just tease it real quickly. What takes place at Celebrity Cuisine?
Well, I would just say we've been dubbed the very best happy hour in Stark County. So that's my teaser until we come back.
Okay, perfect. And it is a happy hour, but no alcohol involved. It doesn't have to. You're going to be enjoying meal after meal after meal of some of the finest food you're going to taste in Stark County from all of the restaurants, and we're going to give them all a shout out too. You're listening to Our Community.